Going around. There we go.
Oh, there it is. The suspense was killing me. Good morning, everybody. Jamie, Kylee, Dean, live from all over the world right now. It's noon for me, and it's pretty late for you guys, like 8 o'clock or something like that. But how's your morning going?
What have you been up to, Dean?
I've been doing some online stuff today. It's been fun. It's been grey, raining, so I've actually enjoyed not having to leave the house today. That's been super good. The odd chores, modern man, and all that. So yeah, it's been my day. It's flown by, absolutely flown by, but it's been good.
Nice.
And happy International Women's Day to all the ladies watching us. I hope you've had a good day.
Yes.
Yeah.
How have you been enjoying your International Ladies' Day, Jamie?
I messaged Lauren this morning. Well, actually, she messaged me and I messaged her back. So that's about the interaction I've had with women today. And then with you, spending Monday with you. I mean, like that's pretty good. It's a big thing here in Canada too. It's huge. There's a lot of talk about a lot of different topics that I don't even want to mention because we'd get into a different conversation. Where today we want to talk to you guys about traveling and work-life travel and what that means to you. Me and Dean have experienced this firsthand quite a bit, and Dean knows a lot about it. And Kylee, she doesn't know. We're gonna be her educators today. So if you guys are interested in learning about working and traveling and the different ways you can do that, the different options there are, then yeah, stay tuned and listen to this and see where it goes. Dean, what's your history with like work life traveling? Uh-oh. Did we lose him?
You're going to have to take over because my video is not very good.
Have we lost the main man on this topic?
He can just read. There you go.
I'm back. Okay.
Dean,
what are
go.
my thoughts on the topic?
Work life. What do you know? Like, what is your experience with work life travel? I know that you've been traveling for a long time. Like, I mean, most of your adult life, it sounds like. So just tell us a little bit about it, how you got started, what worked for you. If people want to like learn to like travel, what are the ways they can like fund this and stuff? What are some of the steps you'd recommend they do?
Right. Okay. So from the off, I started travel when I just turned 22, and it was at the time of the financial crisis. And before that, I was a completely different person. I was a very shy, timid guy that wouldn't say boo to a goose. So I went to Europe for 6 months, and I was pretty sure that my mum was having kittens every week because she was very worried about me. And I lasted 6 months, and I came back, and that was it. I was infected by the travel bug, and it was an obsession ever since, really. How do people to get in? It's an interesting one. At the moment, I would say get ready for when it's going to be the last sector that opens up. But I would get ready for when it opens up because I see a raft of opportunities there. And there's this ideology around you've got to have so much in the bank, you've got to have this and that. But there's so many ways to travel without having, take out a loan from the bank. I've used different methods. I've used Workaway, which is you sign up for, I think it was about 30 euros a year, and you have access. And how it works is generally you work for food and board. So it's great for digital nomads or people that work online because you do 4 hours and you've got your board and your food covered. And especially if you're a bit skint and you don't have much money, that's a great option. But, I asked a question like this: what would I do if I lost my bank card, if I lost all my money? How would I make money? That's how I think that you should go into this mindset, because you're very resourceful. You'll find a way. So, I mean, if that could be, if you're a photographer, hostels, hotels, businesses want that, especially if you've got a drone. They love all that, and they'll pay good money for that. Or it will be included. They let you stay for a week, whatever it may be. You can work on boats. You can work on Fiverr online. Offline, you can do farming. You can volunteer. There's so many different ways you can go about it, and you'll be amazed how many opportunities there are. Really amazed. And yeah, if you ever get stuck, especially if you're in a country that's maybe, like not a third world country, but a country that, the education system is not as good, and your value, even your language alone. I mean, teaching English. I mean, there's so many different options out there, and the world is your oyster. So this idea that you have to have, like, I don't know, £10,000 in the bank before you go, I don't really buy into. Although my cutoff was 6,000. As long as I had 6,000 in the bank, I could go. But that was just for me, because I would budget roughly £1,000 a month, and I could, play around with that, and that could get me 6 months. But I mean, most people travel for a month, 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 months. So you don't need that much. I think that's a bit of a myth I wanted to squash straight away.
And it's totally what people are comfortable with. I've met people that, like, my budget was like $2,000 a month, and no word of a lie, they traveled for a year, 2 of them on $5,000. And so that's the thing, is it's like budgeting and stuff like that. I know for myself, there was 2 times I've kind of traveled in my life big. The first time was going to Australia. I think I had $15,000, and I blew through that in 3 months. Granted, Australia isn't the cheapest, but I didn't know what I wanted to do or how I was going to, like, save my money. And, like, traveling can be really expensive if you're not resourceful or doing it the way you want to. But it's also having your experience. I mean, nobody's going to tell you how you need to travel. Like, some people love to just put a backpack on and put all their belongings in there. Some people want to travel, and their idea of traveling is staying in a nice hotel. So it's like that budget. I mean, like, that's kind of up to you if you're going to hostel it. The big thing about money, though, I like what you were saying, is I have, lots of friends that I've met, some ideas where they'd make jewelry. Like, I mean, lots of girls I know from when they're kids are making like this beaded jewelry and stuff like that. So they'll get everything they need, which is super cheap to buy these things down where you are, usually in like South America or something like that. And then they sit there and they'll make jewelry, and then they'll go sell it, and then they'll eat. Another thing is massage therapy. I know a lot of friends that do that. It is so highly valued in other countries, especially when there's like surfers and things like that. Like, they want to have a massage when they're done. You know what I mean? And if you're there and you can do that, then it's a huge bonus for you. So skills like that. I mean, for myself, a skill I have now that I've learned is kiteboard instructor. And that was as simple as me going and trying it and then coming. And there was a 10-day course that I took. And now if I go somewhere where there's kiteboarding, I can instruct. And it's just one of those skills, you know what I mean? Even there's skills that are super transferable, but like a mechanic. I mean, in those countries, there are vehicles and they break down a lot. And if you have that skill, then it's valuable, right? So it's just like opening up your mind and thinking about what do you have? And like you said too, English as a second language, ESL, teaching people, it's huge. The options are endless for making money when you travel. What made, like, Kylee, you've been thinking, you said we're going to educate you. Have you been thinking about this and like wanting to like travel and work and get away from your beautiful home?
Yeah, I mean, this is a completely new concept to me. I did the sensible thing of going to university, and then I stayed, and then I got a job, and I thought that's what I had to do. I had to be in a job and save money because if I wanted a house. And so I missed out on that whole taking a gap year and then going traveling. And then I tried to make up for it in like my mid-20s by taking like 2 or 3 week holidays and then trying to, like, you know, discover a bit more of like Asia and maybe like South Americas and like the Caribbean and stuff. So I tried to sort of make a list and countries I wanted to go to and some things that I wanted to do and sort of make a tick box. But obviously, it's not the same. And only now that I've sort of entered into the coaching world and have the ability, hopefully, sometime very soon, to be able to work completely from my laptop for myself. That means that I can now relocate and go wherever I want to. And, you know, there's potential options even this year for relocating and being able to work abroad. So for someone like me, that's grand old age of 35, never done this before, I guess it's new and exciting for me, but not necessarily something I've really put time or thought into. Like, what would your tidbits be for someone like me? Both of you.
I have a quick tip for your house, because do you own your house?
I do.
So I don't know how you feel about your house, but me, I made sure that I disconnected my emotions with my house and I used it as an asset. So when I left, I rented it on Airbnb. So there it took that thing about, oh my God, I'm trapped because I own my house and I have to pay the rent, to, wow, my house, I can probably rent it enough to like fund some of my trip. So that's one idea for people who are owning. And if you rent your house, you might be able to sublease your house. So that means you can still hold the lease agreement and then just rent to other people. You'll have to talk to your landlord about that. But these are ways that like you can keep the security of your house by not selling it or getting rid of your rent agreement. So that's an idea on that front.
Yeah, that's a good one. In the terms of tips of travel, I think the biggest one is the fear. Funny enough, it's the fear of leaving. It's the fear of leaving your comfort zone and going off into that dangerous world. That's how they describe it. And I feel that a lot of people want to travel, but they get discouraged because of what they hear from people that don't travel, which does my head in. People tell me the world's dangerous. The people tell me be careful of crossing the road. They have no idea. They have this preconception of what the world is like. And that's because they're influenced by media. They're influenced by the news. They're influenced by this and that. I'll tell you a story, right? We was in Mexico, and a guy from the US, he called one of his banks in America, and she found out where he was, and he had her on loudspeaker, and she was like, "Oh my God, you be careful down there in Mexico," and we all started laughing. And then before he put the phone down, he was like, "You take care up there in America, because I guarantee you, probably where she is in America was far more dangerous than where we were, far more dangerous." But it's this preconception, and yeah, this is what I try to get my head around. There's obviously more dangerous places than others, of course, but the likelihood of you getting stabbed in London is probably higher than anything happening to you being abroad. And this is the thing of chance. This is the thing of luck. It could happen anywhere. It could happen anywhere. As long as you've got your wits about you and you're on guard. And what I mean by that is you have your guard up, because there is this tendency to let your guard down when you're away and you relax and you chill out. And, you know, you have to have your wits about you. You have to be smart and savvy, of course. But I would say to people is that don't listen to people that don't travel. Get advice from people that do.
And what about someone like me who is
gone.
actually... Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right, I'll ask you, Jamie. What about someone like me that's really excited about relocating? And it's probably too excited. Like, I'm a bit like rose-tinted glasses. What are your tidbits for sort of thinking about some of the more like practical things that I might have to do in terms of relocating and traveling?
The boring stuff is like insurance. Look into your like health insurance, get the travel insurance. It's like too many times you hear of something bad happening and somebody didn't get the $100 insurance to take care of themselves. So that's number one. Honestly, the thing that I would recommend is that how you live your life at home, like the safety measures you take and stuff like that, kind of stick with those. Those are like your life. That's how you live. Like, I mean, if you're going outside and you lock your door before you leave, well, if you're traveling with a backpack, you're going to want to make sure you think about, okay, if I want to leave my backpack somewhere, like, how am I going to secure it? And I'm going to put a little lock on it. I'm always going to carry it with me, stuff like that. It's like, how much do I need to take for clothes? Like, do I really need like 15 pairs of shoes, stuff like that? It's like, and there's so many amazing travel blogs that like really teach you how to like just take like the essentials and what you need. I mean, honestly, when I'm in a warm place, I'm wearing board shorts and that's pretty much it. Like, that's literally it. It's pretty good. Like for ladies, you get like a nice bikini or whatever, and like they have these wraps, these like, I don't know if they're called sarongs or something like that, and then you can like wrap them differently and they look really nice when you go out, or you can use them as a beach towel. It's like,
I didn't know this was going to go down bikinis and sarongs. I was not expecting that. Thank you.
Well, are you coming to visit me in northern Canada, or are you going to go to the beach and see Dean? You're going to have a bikini.
There's a good little rule, and basically, when you go to pack, put everything you want to pack on the bed, and then basically just take away half. And remember, globalism. There's shops where you're going, right? Where you're going in Mexico, India, edge of the earth. There'll be a store where you can get travel adapters, you can get toiletries, you can get everything and anything. So the idea that you're going to Mars and there's nothing there is wrong.
Yeah.
Right? You can get anything there. So I would say with Jamie as well is that, less is better, and the lighter your rucksack, the better. And you can always buy more clothes and get new stuff, but generally, I wouldn't be too fussed about it.
Mm-hmm.
And guys, what about community? So like, say someone like me, who, if I'm going to relocate, I'm probably going to be doing it on my own and going to a place where maybe I do know a few people, but potentially don't know anyone. What's your tips for someone finding a bit of social life, a bit of community? How would you go about that? Any advice?
I would say what we're doing right now for business, do the same thing to find a community. Like, reach out in the area where you're going, find like the Facebook groups, find other people that have done this, and just reach out to them and start chatting with them online. People are so friendly and they just want to like share their experiences, right? And you'll find out right away. Like, there's people from my hometown, which like I really love here, that I've met before, and they had like the worst time in the world here, and it was like just a one-off. Something happened, something bad happened to them, and it painted it with a bad brush. So that was kind of like what Dean was saying, is it's like, don't just listen to one person. It's like, find a group, connect with these people, talk to them, and it's like the amount of effort you put in before you go is going to like determine how much information you get. But once you get going down those rabbit holes, you find some pretty cool places. And it's like, for me, when I go traveling somewhere, I'll always like start with like the destination hotspot, like somewhere you go, you get to a hostel, it's really busy, it's like tons of tourists there, and then there's what I always banked on was there was always 10 other people that did way more research than me, and I'd just be like, oh, where are you going? And then, even sometimes you'd be like, if you get along with them, be like, hey, you mind if I like come along with you guys? And yeah, sure. And then you do that, and just you start meeting people. You literally, when you're traveling, you're going to meet your best friend. Like, one of the first nights you go out, you're going to meet one or two people that you connect with so quickly, and then it's just been like you've been buddies forever. And then go from there. Dean?
What I would say as well is that there's, wherever you are in the world, there's always a trail, right? It's either north or south, east or west, or a loop. And you're always going to meet someone that's going the other way, and there's always going to be that. And just ask them, where have you been? Where would you go? And what Jamie said is that these connections, they form super quick.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the amazing thing about travel is that you forge relationships, and they're super intense. And might only know each other for 3 days, but it's almost like a fast track relationship, friendship, love, whatever it is, and it's an incredible thing to experience. Um, yeah, it is unique in that sense. And I think you said the word community because you're all in that same kind of place. You're away from home, you're away from family, you're away from friends. It's almost like you gel as a unit. And I can remember some things happening in the hostel, and it was like it happened to one person, and it was like it affected all of us, and we all kind of helped out. We all maybe someone got robbed or something, and we all kind of chipped in. So that sense of community is really at the heart of all hostels, and I would say is that what I do is I go to the first hostel, I book 2 nights, and then I just leave it open because there is no way you are gonna plan or map out. Some people like to do that, but I would say just go and just see where it takes you. Have a few destinations in mind, but there's always going to be these local spots, these secret beaches that won't be in any guidebook. And it's all about meeting people, talking to the locals. You're always going to find like locals that work in hostels, and there'll be a nice mix generally of internationals and people from everywhere around the world. But it's relationships that are super interesting in the hostels, especially when you work at a hostel. You get to see it from a completely different point of view, and some of the things that go on, wow, it's enough to make your hair curl, honestly.
Enough of that.
Another thing that I'd say is like the times that I almost got in trouble the most is when I was just being an idiot, and like things like drinking too much. It's huge. I mean, 90% of the stories that I've heard where somebody got in real bad trouble is around alcohol and drugs in these other countries. It's like, Kylee, I don't see this happening with you, but I don't know. But it's like, keep your head about you, because this is the thing is no matter where we are in the world, there's people that want to take advantage of us, and there's people that want to like just get money. You know what I mean? A good rule I actually heard is always keep enough money on you to satisfy, like, say, like someone trying to rob you. You know what I mean? Because some of these places, it's like it's safe, but if you get in this scenario, it's like you don't want to have nothing. You want to have like a little stash of something. Some people keep money in their socks and like keep something in your pocket so you can just pull it out and take it. I had a buddy once. He was super well traveled, and we were going down to Nicaragua to meet each other. I came 2 days before him, and then he was late getting to the hostel, and I was like by a day, and I'm like, oh, what happened? And he was like, oh, I went down and I went to get on my bus, and then the bus got missed, or I missed the bus. So then this guy came up to me, and he's like, oh, did you miss your bus? And he spoke Spanish, and they're speaking Spanish down there. And so anyways, he jumped into this guy's car, and then they started driving farther and farther away, and he kept on asking how much longer. And it was like, oh, a couple minutes. And then all of a sudden they turned off the road, and then they went up the driveway, and they like picked somebody else up, picked a kid up. And then by this time he kind of realized that there was like somebody in the back seat, and he's like, oh yeah, I just got to pick my son up, blah, blah, blah. And they kept on driving. And then sure enough, they ended up getting a knife, put it in his side. And he didn't get stabbed, but like, give me all your money. And they're in the middle of nowhere now. They're like, they took all his money and stuff, and they took his credit cards, and his passport. But since he spoke the language, he was like, you guys can't do anything with my credit cards and my passport. At least give those back. And then they threw those back at him, and then they drove away, and he was stuck in the middle of nowhere. And lucky enough, there's a house up on the hill. He went up there. The people took care of him for the night and stuff like that. And then he got back on track. But he'd been traveling for like 15 years and like was in Peru all the time, and like really smart and savvy. And it's like, sometimes it's just like, sometimes things happen. But in those scenarios, it's better to like just give rather than try and like fight your way out of it. That's kind of the advice I'd give. It kind of goes against what Dean was saying.
I think no, I mean, it's going to happen. I've had experiences, and I'll share them another time. I've had some, things that shook me up big time. But this is the world, that there's going to be people you're going to go to countries where some people are desperate. They see a tourist, and for them it's either feed their family or not. Not in all cases, but there is that temptation, and I understand that. What's interesting about traveling is you have to learn to trust in people. You have to learn to. I said about having your guard up, yes, but there's going to be times when you're going to have to trust people. It could be that you break down. It could be that you lose something, or you're in the middle of nowhere and you have to knock on a house like your mate had to do.
Yeah,
you're going to have to trust people. 9 times out of 10, the world is full of good people.
Yeah.
Do not listen to what you hear. There's going to look 1 out of 10, not so good, of course. Yeah, I'm just giving you reality, but to kind of paint this picture of the world as this hellish, crazy lunatic place is not. It's not true. But yeah, if you can, and your intuition as well, you'll get this vibe off of people if you're going to trust them or not. And sometimes you can avoid that situation, sometimes you can't, and sometimes your intuition is completely wrong and they're actually very nice people. Yeah. So it's a funny one, it's a weird one, and you learn with experience and you learn as you go, but you're in a different country. 9 times out of 10 that doesn't speak your language. There's going to be times when you're going to feel vulnerable, alone, and quite small. But if you handle yourself in the right way, if you're polite and you stick to their customs as well, you don't expect them to adapt to you. You adapt to them.
That is huge.
Absolutely. Do that when you go on holiday, courtesy.
What I used to do is I used to my rule was just follow the people. Follow the people, and if in some countries I'm quite tall, even though I'm like 5'11" or something. I'm not the tallest, but you're going to stand out, right? And what I used to do is I used to walk, even if I felt really scared and nervous, and I'm generally on my own. I'd always stand with my chest out, and I kind of pretended that I knew the city inside out, and I gave off this aura that this is where I live. I might be a tourist, but this is where I live, and this is where I know that street leads to the 7-Eleven. I know that street goes to the main temple, whatever it may be. So if you can almost embrace that and feel like you're at home and pretend that you are in your mind, then you'll give off this aura, and you'll tend to be talked to less. It's a weird thing to do, but I always used to pretend that this was my city, this is where I live, and I used to just walk as if I owned the street.
Totally. What would be your? I'm going to ask Kylee, what are your top questions you have before you're going traveling? Like, what are your few questions that really resonate with you that you want answered before you travel?
In terms of like big travel, like we're talking about here.
Yeah,
I think actually you guys have answered the ones that are top of my list. Like practically, I know that doesn't sound so fun, but what are the things that I should think about? Because for me, it's kind of the opposite. I'm so excited about getting out of here that it's like rose tinted glasses, and I don't want to go away and potentially be a bit disappointed because actually I've not thought all of this through. Mm-hmm. And obviously community. I mean, I'm very lucky that I think no matter where I'll be in the world, I've got people that I can talk to. But obviously having that, especially after this year, having that physical community, like those people, will be more important than ever. You had a really great tip, and that was something I was going to ask, because obviously I've got a house. I'm a homeowner. So, I mean, you guys have covered that. So, yeah, I mean, nice. I guess I just like how have you how have you gone about sort of setting up your lives abroad? Like, what have been the first little steps that you've done when you've got there? What are the first little things that you do? Do you have like a little ritual, like everywhere you go? Like, I need to do A, B, C, and D in the next few weeks? Or is it that you just absolutely go with the flow, like, and let things happen? Like, is there a ritual, or is it a go with the flow situation?
I think kind of Dean touched on that earlier, where it's like, and I kind of touched on that, where it's like you go somewhere, you find your home base. For me, it's like a really busy touristy spot, and that's kind of like where you get situated. Like Dean said, he said book 2 nights there, and that's it. Because in those 2 nights, things are going to go so fast. You're going to meet so many people. It's like you're going to have a plan set out for you right away. If you're someone that needs to plan a little bit more, then do that. But literally, I mean, like, the best part of, like, not the best part, but one of the most exciting things is just booking that ticket. Once you get that ticket booked, and then all of a sudden the Lonely Planets come out. I'm sure Lonely Planet's still a thing. Everyone's reading the book. Now there's so many travel blogs. And so it's going to be the research, and it's going to be finding a kind of home base when you get there. Now that I'm a little older, when I travel, my ideal is like to go to a country, find like a central kind of location. And then I'm going to end up renting a car or something, or a motorcycle, and I'll be doing like mini holidays from that central location. So that's kind of my way. In my mind, I'd love to go with like a couple couples, hang out, or like a group of friends. Like, this is another thing we could touch on, is traveling with groups of people, but that's a whole other 30-minute conversation. So, and it is. But that's kind of my way now, is find home base and then just do kind of like mini trips from there. So
yeah. I think as well, there's a big difference between when you're traveling and when you're moving to a place and living. And
yeah, that's kind of what I'm hinting at. Like, in terms of actually moving somewhere, you know, I'm going to be here for 6 months, 9 months, a year, or even longer. Yeah. What are some of the little tidbits that you do straight away? Like silly things like, do you think I'll get a bike so that I can get around? Like, I'm going to hunt out the best little coffee shop, so I've got a little base to go to. Like, what are the little rituals that you do if you're going to be somewhere?
That's pretty cool. What
Dino.
Dean.
I make friends. And what I mean by that, I get to know people on a name-to-name basis. So that way they know who you are. So you're not a stranger anymore. Yeah. One of the best advices I got was from someone who said, like, when you go to a new town, go to a bar and introduce yourself to the landlady or the landlord, right? Get to know them, have a chat, then they think you're okay. So if there's any trouble or anything that goes wrong, they know you on a name-to-name basis, so they know that you're pretty all right. You're not a troublemaker. You're not here to cause any problems. And then that way, they're like, oh, people love new people. And they're like, it's almost like that analogy where you move to a new city, a new little village, and everyone comes with their cake. It's like, oh, try my cake. And then they're having an argument to see who's got the best cake. No, I'm here first. It's like that. You're like the new shiny coin. Everyone wants to see you and meet you. So that would be my advice. That's my ritual. Is I get to know people super quick, and it helps you settle in. And it also, if something were to go wrong, people know who you are. Mm-hmm. And they're more likely to help you because you've got that connection. Yeah. But yeah, I could give you loads of different tips and tools, but that would be my first one. As soon as you land, drop your bag, put your passport. Don't take your passport out. Take a photocopy of it on your phone or whatever. That's fine. But leave it in the hostel. I know what the police think. I know they say you've got to have ID everywhere you go. Don't ignore it. Leave it in the hostel. That is your ticket out of anywhere. And you don't want to lose that. God's sake, you don't want to lose that. So leave it in the hostel, put it in a locker, and then just go out, meet people, take enough money that you can spend it or get robbed, and that's fine. You come home. That's what I would do, and just meet people and have fun with it. Because you're going to meet some cracking people. Some nuts as well, some mad people, some crazy, kooky, amazing people. Like, literally people you've never met before.
I meet them on the Central Line as it is, Dean.
I'm excited for you. Huh? Really excited.
Nice, guys.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah.
Well, I think we should. I don't think this conversation we can go through down so many different areas now that we've opened this up. But today, I think we've touched a little bit on it. Well, a lot on it. Honestly, like Dean's the man. Reach out to Dean if you want to know anything about traveling. It's like he's been there, he's done that. I travel a lot too. I do it a little bit differently nowadays. Camper van style. Van life. I'm into the van life, so we can have another session about that. There's just so much to touch on. So, Kylee, you're in good hands here. And yeah, with that note, I think we'll wrap it up for today and see you guys next Monday. Just so you know, we have started a YouTube channel, the three of us, the Freedom Coaches. You can find us on YouTube. We're going to start posting these videos and stuff there. It's pretty exciting. So yeah, come check us out there, subscribe, and
we will put our link below.
Perfect. Okay, cool, guys. See you next week.
Good night, everybody.
Nice. See you later.